For this lesson, we're going to start off with the milliamperes and seconds, which actually is a formula, which is the mA, the milliamperes, times seconds, which equals the mAs, which we shortly call mass. The mA is the rate that the X-rays are produced. The seconds is the actual exposure time, which really is stating that that's the total quantity of radiation, which is the density and the brightness. The density and brightness on the actual X-ray itself is the darkness, the overall darkness. That's how density and brightness is defined. We're going to again do some math problems in regards to the milliamperes and seconds to find out our mass. For this first problem, we're going to figure out 500 mA with 0.02 seconds. These are practice problems that you'll find in your text on pages 33 through 37. And the first set of problems we're going to work out is the mass ones, the milliamperes and seconds. It's really a simple problem. Here's the formula. mA times the seconds is going to equal our milliamperes and seconds, which is the mass. So I'm going to simply go ahead and do that. I'm going to plug it into the formula. 500 times 0.02 is going to give me, and I highly suggest you use your calculator very quickly when you put in the 500 times, don't forget the decimal, 0.02, and you should get an answer of 10. Our mass is 10. It's just that simple. Now the other practice problems you can use, sometimes the seconds is going to be represented in fractions or even milliseconds. And I'm going to work out a few problems like that as well. For the next set of problems, we're going to use fractions for the seconds, but it's going to turn out to be the same way. To make this easier for us, we're going to convert that fraction into a decimal form first and then multiply in the formula for the mass. One divided by 40, okay, because whenever you want to convert a fraction into a decimal form, you take the 1 divided by 40, okay, which equals 0.025. And we're just going to plug it into the formula the same way. So it's the mA, which is 200, times our 140 now in decimal form, which is 0.025, which is going to equal 5. Very simple way of doing it. Next, we're going to do the same thing. First, convert this fraction into decimal form, which equals 0.5. Then we have 300 mA times that, which is simply going to give us an easy answer of 15 mass. Those are simple. Those are how we calculate the mass. So you figured out how to do it with decimal and even converting the fractions into decimals. Now let's work on converting milliseconds into seconds and then finding out our mass. For the next one, as you can see, we're going to take the 400 mA and 2 milliseconds and try to find out the mass. But before we could do that, our formula needs seconds, not milliseconds. So first we're going to convert that 2 milliseconds into seconds. And I have a couple of simple ways to figure out how milliseconds can be converted to seconds. The first way, I could use a simple mathematical formula, which is I take the milliseconds, which is 2, times it by 0.001, which will give me the seconds. And then the other way is, if you're a person who don't mind moving the decimal, well, you could just simply move the decimal 3 places to the left. So even though it's 2, we'll move it to the left, and it's going to have a couple of zeros in the front, and it will be 0.002 seconds. And now I can work out my problem. Again, with the 2 different methods of me figuring out the 2 milliseconds, I'm going to work that over here real quick. I'm going to do the first one. Take 2 times the 0.001. And that's going to give me 0.002. This would be my new seconds. Or again, like I said, I can take the 2, kind of pretend like it's 2.0, take my decimal, move it 3 places to the left. So 1, 2, 3. My decimal winds up here. I have a couple of empty spaces. That's why it's going to be 0.002. Same way like I configured it with the formula. So now I'm going to go ahead and figure out my mass, which is 400 times my new seconds, 0.002, which gives me 0.08 mass. Again, it's 0.08, and that's my mass. For the next set of problems, we're going to figure out different ways we can make adjustments to our mass. Maybe we want to change up the seconds or change up the mA, but we want to maintain the same mass. So here's the 2 different formulas I want to work with. To find out the seconds, and again, you know what the mass is and the mA is, what you do is take the mass divided by the mA to get your seconds. The next one is we're trying to find the mA. We know what the mass is, we know what the seconds is, and we're going to figure out the mA. So we take the mass divided by the seconds, which is going to give us our mA. So here's a couple of problems I have. Each one I'm going to figure out either the second or the mA. The top one, I have 5 mass, but 0.01 seconds. So I'm going to simply use the one here at the bottom. The mass divided by the seconds, I'm going to find my mA. So I'm taking the 5, again divided by the 0.01, which is going to give me 500 mA. Easy, right? Next, I see that I have 500 mA, but 50 mass. So what I'm going to do is use this formula here. Take the mass divided by the mA to find my seconds. Okay? And that simply is 50 over 500. And you could quickly calculate that in your, if you want to, your head as well. And that's our seconds. 0.1 seconds. Now, that's all the problems we are going to work with the mAs. Do the practice problems in your workbook and also in your text as well to make sure it's get hashed into your head.